Jessica was going through the darkest days of her life. At just 23 years old, her health concerns were nothing more than small aches and pains. But one morning, the bad news she received turned her entire life upside down. The cancer diagnosis not only ravaged her body but also left deep scars on her soul. She had just graduated from college and was about to start her career when, unexpectedly, she began the fight against illness. Her biggest concern was not the disease taking over her, but losing the financial support her family had given her. Her mother and father were struggling with ever-increasing medical bills. Every morning, going to the hospital meant dealing with the challenges of the treatment while also feeling the exhaustion caused by the illness itself, which wore Jessica down emotionally. The treatment costs were starting to drain her family's savings, and every day they were sinking deeper into debt. Jessica was not just fighting physically, but also emotionally. The love and responsibility she felt for her parents' efforts fueled her even more. One morning, before heading to the hospital, Jessica saw the fear in her mother's eyes. "You have to keep going, Jessica," her mother said, her voice trembling. "You need to get through this. It's draining you." When Jessica saw the fear in her mother's eyes, she suddenly realized that she had to be strong. The warrior spirit inside her resurfaced. "Yes, I must survive," she said to herself. She wasn't going to take a single step back. She had to find a way out. Art. Since childhood, she had used art as a way to find meaning. Painting was the only thing that brought her soul to life. However, this art had now become more than a search. It was now part of her fight for survival. That morning, she made the decision to turn her art into a tool for survival. She decided to start selling her paintings on the street. But there was a fear inside her. What if no one buys? What if people just pity her? But with determination, everything was ahead of her. She had to take a step forward. "I can do this," she told herself. The first few days were harder than ever for Jessica. Every new morning, she set up her stand in the street, trying to create a new opportunity for survival by displaying her art. But at first, everything wasn't as easy as she had imagined. Setting up her paintings and displaying them wasn't just about showcasing her art, it became a necessity for her livelihood. People walked by as they went to work, quickly glancing at her paintings, but most of the time only for a few seconds. No one stopped, no one lingered, everyone just kept walking. This shook Jessica's hope. Making sales was a big necessity to survive. Maybe no one will appreciate it, she thought. But her inner voice kept encouraging her. With every brushstroke, she became a little more determined. This not only made her art a tool for survival, but also allowed her to relax with every new painting. One day, an elderly couple approached her stand. As the woman carefully looked at the paintings, she noticed the pain Jessica was expressing. In that moment, Jessica felt that something was about to change. The woman asked the price of her favorite painting and bought it. Jessica's heart raced when the sale went through. This wasn't just selling a painting, but someone valuing her and accepting her art. Her first sale gave her courage. But Jessica wanted more. "This is just the beginning," she said to herself. Jessica noticed Clint Eastwood's gaze through the crowd just a few seconds ago. Time seemed to stop. That familiar look, that cool demeanor only a Hollywood star could have. Clint Eastwood. He was a legend. But more importantly, he was the person who would touch Jessica's life. In that moment, time seemed to freeze. Clint Eastwood carefully selected a painting and turned to Jessica, silently studying it. Jessica's thoughts were filled with contradictions. "Really?" she thought. "What is Clint Eastwood doing here?" Clint Eastwood stood in front of one of the paintings, carefully examining it. Jessica didn't know what to do. Normally, she was someone who could talk about art for hours, but right now, words were stuck in her throat. Clint lifted his glasses to see the details more clearly. Jessica was too shocked to describe how she felt at that moment. Looking at him carefully, he said, "This is really impressive." When Jessica felt Clint's gaze, her heart began to race. Every pain she had gone through in each brushstroke, every color choice reflecting her struggle, seemed to resonate in Clint's eyes. This moment meant more than just being recognized as an artist. It meant sharing her fight for survival with others. Clint remained silent for a moment, then turned to Jessica and said, "This painting is priceless, This is really great work." As Jessica stared at him in shock, Clint continued, "An artist should be able to touch the world. Your art really does that." Jessica looked at him with a full heart, not only because her art was appreciated, but because her struggle and determination were being acknowledged. Clint Eastwood had recognized the meaning behind her art, the life behind every brushstroke. It wasn't just about her art, it was about accepting her inner battle. Clint Eastwood's gaze wasn't just admiration, it reflected great respect for her. In that moment, Jessica realized that it wasn't just an artist's work that mattered, it was a person's fight that needed to be recognized. Clint said, "I'm taking this painting," and then added, "This isn't just art, it's your story. It's part of your struggle." For Jessica, that moment was more than just selling a painting. It was realizing that her fight had value. Clint Eastwood buying that painting wasn't just a sale, it was a life-changing opportunity. Clint Eastwood's support for Jessica was not only financial but also emotional. Holding that check for $50,000, Jessica was in shock. This was more than just a sale, it was a life-changing opportunity. In that moment, all of Jessica's dreams came alive. "I can do this," she said to herself. The check was not just financial gain, it was the key to hope and a future. She could now continue fighting not just for her health, but for her family's future. Her art was now a reflection of her inner strength. And now, she had the chance to reach a wider world and show people the power of hope. Jessica's transformation wasn't just about her art. It was also a reward for her inner struggle and perseverance. Clint's $50,000 check wasn't just money, it was a real recognition of her fight to survive. In that moment, she realized she was valued not only as an artist but also as a person. 1 month later, Jessica's inner transformation started to show physically. The treatment process, which had initially drained her, now felt more bearable. The chemotherapy was still taking a toll on her body, and the side effects were making her both physically and mentally exhausted. Dark circles under her eyes, hair loss, and constant fatigue drained almost all of her energy. However, in the past month, she began to look at the struggle differently. At first, it felt like paying a heavy price with every step, but she realized that this treatment wasn't just a physical fight, it was also a psychological one. Continuing to spend time with her art every day gave her a ray of hope. Art had become her way of coping with the darkness inside and finding a reason to survive. Each brushstroke wasn't just creating a painting, it was a symbol of her spiritual resistance against the illness. Every day when she went to the hospital, the tired woman she had known was now feeling stronger. The treatment process had become more intense, but she had a stronger resolve to get through it. As she walked out of the hospital after each session, she realized that the treatment wasn't just an obstacle, it was a turning point. Letting go of the pain and expressing it through her art had become her salvation. "I'm doing this not just for myself, but for others too," she said to herself. Because now, every color she saw, every sound she heard, lightened the battle inside her. One day, after chemotherapy, Jessica was feeling exhausted and weak, but as she approached her stand, she felt so much strength that she momentarily forgot the effects of the illness. Through her paintings, she was starting a new life with every brushstroke. The pain of one painting was symbolized by the strength of another. The difficulty of the treatment process gave Jessica the opportunity to create deep meaning as an artist. At that moment, every brushstroke felt like a healing process. It wasn't just physical healing, it was also a mental treatment. She wasn't just holding on to the treatment, she was also holding on to her connection to her art. Every day, moving forward, gave her strength. Though her treatment process was still ongoing, Jessica had realized this new strength within herself. "Now, I'm continuing this treatment not just to survive, but to fight back," she said. Her paintings were now a reflection of her fight against the disease. Behind each painting, there was a symbol of her fight to survive. Her body and soul were both healing. And a week later, when Jessica learned she had received an offer from a gallery representative, she realized that everything had changed. Her paintings were no longer just works of art, but reflections of a life story, a struggle. A gallery owner from New York was offering her more opportunities to showcase her art. Jessica's transformation tells a story of survival, and how art can become a journey of healing. What does it really take to survive? How can an artist's struggle inspire all of us? What emotional strength does Jessica's story show you? Jessica's story shows the power of following your dreams, the healing power of art, and how support can rebuild a life. So, what struggle will you continue to fight for? This story invites us to remember the profound narrative hidden behind every face and every name. If this story has touched your heart, please share it and subscribe for more inspiring tales. Remember, every name, every face, carries a story worth listening to.